Piersimoni and welcome to Elle's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a turkey brine in a sea salt bath along with a wonderful sausage and apple dressing. I thought this would be real appropriate for the holiday, so I hope you enjoy my recipe. But before we get started, let me go over my ingredients so you know what to get so you can go ahead and prepare yourselves. Okay, so our ingredient list today will include the following items. You're going to want to start with a cup of good kosher salt, half a cup of brown sugar. Then this is right here, this is a little bit of a special thing and I'll tell you about this. This is a dried vegetarian based chicken broth. Now I use this because my broth normally is made with a vegetable broth, or should I say a vegetable base. But because I'm going to be doing a chicken instead of a turkey, I'm using, this is also chicken flavor, so I'll show you how to work that out in a minute. Then we've got black peppercorns, ground allspice, ground ginger, and then we're going to need ice water. And so, of course, and then you need your turkey. Now, the tip I want to tell you is at least 2 days before you're getting ready to start your brining, you want to make sure you take your turkey out of the refrigerator, or if it's in the freezer, take it out of the freezer and give it a 2-day thaw. And then once it's thawed, let it set up for about, a day or so, where you can get in the cavity and make sure there's no ice crystals in there. And then you're going to want to rinse it, pat it dry, because then we'll move on to the next step. So for starters, all of these ingredients that I just told you about, we're going to take everything and we're going to put them in a big pot and we're going to boil them. And then you want to do this, like I said, 2 days in advance because you want the brine to cool down, or you will cook your chicken before you get it in there. So I'm going to step over here and grab my brine and show you. This is what our completed brine looks like. So it'll be a little dark in color because you got the brown sugar and you got the base that you're going to need. And by the way, if I didn't mention this, you're going to need a gallon of this base here. So you're going to want to measure out however many teaspoons are required to get a gallon. And I think for this, it was 16 tablespoons, if that'll help. And I'll have that in my notes when you guys look at my recipe. And you're going to need a gallon of ice water as well. So we have our turkey sitting here and I got our brine. Now what I normally do is I take the wonderful turkey and I'm just gonna place them right here in the water. This is ice. Put that going a little bit. Now, hopefully we can get our brine. I'm going to move this so you can see what I'm doing. And it looks like this might be the bigger container, so we may switch it up after we do that, just to make sure it's enough room. By the way, the recipe for this brine can brine a turkey up to 14 to 16 pounds. And the brine needs to be immersed around the chicken or turkey for at least 8 to 10 hours. So let's go ahead and get that in there. So one of the things about having a turkey this size, between 14 and 16 pounds, is that a lot of people do not have refrigerator space for this. So this is why I use the ice. If you take this and set it in the ice and then sit your whole bucket someplace that's in a cool, dark place, cover it with a towel, and then check back like maybe every 7 or 8 hours or so to make sure that it's okay if you're going to brine it overnight. I usually brine mine at least overnight to get the best effect for the flavor. And you'll find that by the time you're ready to take it out, everything will be super cold, and then you're just going to take your turkey, you're going to rinse it, and then you go to your next step. So because we're going to let this little guy here rest, and then I'm going to get my turkey brine that I've already brined earlier, and we'll start working on getting him ready for the oven. Alright, so we have removed our bird from our brine, and so we're going to just give him a nice little pat down to dry off his skin, because we're going to rub oil on him to make him, I like to give food genders. So we're going to make him nice and dry so that his skin will be nice and crisp during the roasting process. Now I want to bring to a point that I've been noticing. I've been saying something as we're taping. Initially, this whole brine is for a turkey. Today we're using a chicken just for the sake that it's easier for me to use on camera. But please know that this is a versatile brine. It can be used with a turkey or a chicken. So if you hear me say turkey one time or you hear me say chicken another time, please know that I do know that this is a chicken. And this is just me kind of going back and forth, but it can be used for both, okay? And let me just give you a little bit of background on why we use a brine. Brines create a wonderful flavor in your turkey. I used to always butter my turkey, and I still do, but I find that when I want something succulent, the salt and the kosher, it just brings out the juiciness of the meat. It breaks down the muscles, it makes it more tender. The salt also helps the skin to crisp up, and so you've got just an excellent tasting dish when you're done. But there's nothing wrong with butter basting either, because if you do it the right way and you flavor it the right way, it's still just as wonderful. Before we move on to put them in the oven, I've got a few things I like to do to it to make it taste even better. And these things help accompany the brine flavors that I put together. So right now I've got, let me get my knife. I've got an onion here, and I'm just gonna cut it in half. And don't worry, because you're not gonna eat this thing. It's going into the cavity of the bird, so you can leave the skin on. I only need a half, so half of an onion here. And you just squirt and toss it right in this bowl. And then we're going to take a whole apple. The same way, doesn't matter what type of apple, Gala's, Red Delicious. You're just going to want to pick up the wonderful flavors of the apple in your bird, and it's very, very good. I've got 4 rosemary twigs here. I've got 1 cinnamon stick. And I've got oil that we'll use for the moment. And I'm going to put some sage on the bird when I'm done. So a trick here to wake up the vegetables is I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 20-25 seconds just to warm this up, and then right into the bird it'll go. So I'm going to go over here and get this in the microwave. Okay, so I just took my vegetables out of the microwave, and they smell very good. They're very aromatic. This is going to make a wonderful, wonderful addition to your bird. One thing I didn't mention before I put the vegetables in the microwave is I added a cup of water to my bowl as well. So I microwaved it first. I added a cup of water, then I microwaved it again another 30 seconds. And it just makes it, that much more aromatic. So now I've gotten everything all in here, all mixed up, as you can see. And the rosemary, the leaves are starting to kind of come off and give the apple and onion some flavor. So let's see here. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of ground sage in here, and I'm going to also rub a little bit on the bird. All right. Okay. So now, opening our cavity, we've removed all of the giblets and the little seasoning pack. Make sure, well, that wonderful packet that's in there, make sure you get that out. That will not taste good if you leave that in there. So in everything goes, and I just try to put apple and onion together, and then a little twig of the rosemary in there, and get it all in there. You're going to want all of your aromatics in there. Just stuff it in there. In this case, because I'm using a chicken instead of a turkey, he's a little small. Make sure you get the cinnamon in there. Might have a little bit of a tight fit, but we're going to try. That beeping you just heard in my background is my oven warming to 400 degrees. For a turkey, you're going to want to warm your oven to 500 degrees. Okay, so he's now dressed and ready for the ball, as you can see. And we'll just slide him right into our pan. Over here, I've got about 1/4 of a cup of canola oil. And this is just, you may not need all this. I just put it in here. I'd rather have it in a bowl so that I won't cross-contaminate my bottle. So just, you're going to put a little bit in your hand, and you're just going to rub them down like you're giving it a massage. So get his little legs. Jumper here, that apple does not want to stay in. Okay, So now what I do is I'm going to tuck the wing underneath the bird, just like that. It's just real simple. It may not stay, but this helps the wing to not dry out in the roasting process because we're not going to cover the bird. And just a little bit of a sprinkle of our sage. Just a little bit again. And he's ready for the oven. So we're going to go ahead and put him in the oven. I say for this bird, we want to roast him at 400 degrees. Since this is a chicken, and this chicken is about not quite 6 pounds, about 5 3/4. We want to roast them maybe somewhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours. You know, checking for clear juices, and you know, you're going to want, if you can always take the leg, and if the meat and the skin separate, then that means you've got a done bird. Or you can always take a meat thermometer, and it shows you on there the register for the bird. And I want to say registers about 160, and that's when you know you're done. Okay, so into the oven we go, and we'll catch him when he's ready. Hi there, this is Lisa again. I just wanted to give you a couple of corrections on something I mentioned earlier during our taping when we were brining the bird. When I mentioned the time and the temperature, I said to roast your turkey at 500 degrees. What I failed to tell you is that you need to, 30 minutes into your roasting time, you want to insert a thermometer if you have one, because you're going to want your turkey to register somewhere between 165 and 180 into the thickest part of the breast. Then that will let you know that it's done. But when you insert this in here, into that breast, if you've got an internal thermometer that stays in the bird, you're going to want to reduce your temperature to 350 degrees, and you're going to leave that in there for 2 hours to 2.5 hours time period. So I didn't want you to roast your turkey at 500 degrees for the entire 2-hour period, and then you end up with a charcoal briquette, and then you're mad at me. So and I ruined your dinner. However, I just wanted to give some input on that. If there's ever any question, don't just, you know, you can always just check some research, look online. This thermometer registers poultry at 180, and that is well done. I mean, that's more than done. So if you use something similar to this and you get that reading, your turkey's done. Take it out, let it rest. Keep in mind that during your resting period, your temperature will go up about 10 degrees, and then it'll begin to fall. And that's just traditional of most meats and poultries. So that's my tip I wanted to add. Sorry if I've created any confusion with that, but there you go. Okay, for the second phase of our dinner today, I'm going to introduce to you someone very special, very close to my heart, which is my wonderful husband, Eric. And he is going to be making a sausage and apple stuffing, or dressing, I should say, that's going to accompany the turkey. So, Eric, I'll let you kind of tell what your ingredients are, and just give us a little bit of history on how you came about.
This is, again, called it actually started as the apple sausage dressing. And the uniqueness about it is that it's my father's recipe, and he got it from his mother. So, you know, the cooking has been in our family for quite some time, and we just love doing things together as a family. So this is one thing that's passed down from a generation to a generation to another generation. So
tell us real quickly, so for our audience, because they would like to know, what are the amounts that you have here? Like, how much apple would you say you got there?
For this recipe, using about 1/2 pound of sausage, I'm going to use 1 apple. I'm going to use about 2 stalks of celery. I'll use 1 onion. I will use probably about 1/2 teaspoon of sage, about 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. Now the reason I have this happens to be a Tuscan chicken broth, is with these really crispy breadcrumbs like that, we want to give it a little more flavor. In this case, we are not going to put this inside the bird, so therefore we need to flavor it just a little bit. Otherwise, it's up to you. Kind of the thought process these days are that it's not a good idea to cook, to make sure that everything is cooked in the right amount of time and to the right temperature, that you cook it outside the bird, because always the concern is when you have it in the bird, you're not having it at the right temperature. So today we're going to, in this case, use a little bit of chicken broth to help give it that kind of a little bit of a softness as you'd expect in a dressing.
Okay. All right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step over to the side, and we're going to give the show to Eric so he can begin the process.
And now we're taking the sausage that was in the ling form. We're just kind of breaking it up a little bit in the saucepan. I want to get a nice tender, but not too long cook. Get that all broken up. And like when you're cooking any kind of meat, you just want to continually saute it. Let it brown on both sides. Want to stay to it. And it should be done here shortly. Now we have the sausage. It's been browning. You can hear it sizzling well, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. About medium heat. I'm going to begin by adding my ingredients. We'll start with the onion. Now with this onion, we want to let this sit here and simmer until it kind of gets a translucent look to it. At the same time, we can also add the celery. We'll just stir that around a little bit. The smell of the sausage and onion is always good. The celery actually will give it just enough firmness, and that's why we add the celery. And I think at this point I'm also going to add the stick of margarine. Stir that in. Turn my heat up a little bit. Let that simmer. Once that cooks down a little bit, we'll add the seasonings. Now at this point, we've got our nice simmer going here. Everything's a nice sauce, so we're going to go ahead and add our spices, our seasonings. We'll start with a little bit of sea salt, like I said, about a teaspoon. Sea salt has a real nice, distinct flavor. And pepper, same amount, about a teaspoon of pepper. About a half a teaspoon of sage. And let that simmer. If you can see right now, we're getting the onions are turning a little translucent, almost getting closer to a brown. The butter is all melted down, margarine. Everything's taking on a very, very nice flavor. You can see I've turned the heat down a little bit. We still have a nice simmer going on. Actually a larger pan because now we're going to add the apples with a real nice fruity flavor. They really don't have to, when we put them in the oven for about 30 minutes, they'll do their job. Now we're going to go ahead and add the 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Mix that around. As you can hear them, they're very crisp. They're going to soak up everything that's in the pan. From the margarine to a little bit of the sausage. It's going to be flavored here. And as you can see here, as I'm stirring this around, it's these are very, very dry, as breadcrumbs are. So we're going to work towards a little bit more softness with some chicken broth. So we're going to start by putting about a half a cup. And what I'm looking for here, the object is to see that at the bottom of the pan, the breadcrumbs are absorbing as much as possible. Looks like we're slowly attaining that. Because when we put this in the oven, it's going to get more heat and we'll dry up some more, so we're going to go ahead, we're getting closer, and we're going to go ahead and add another half cup, so it'll be a total of 1 cup of chicken broth. Okay. Put that up to about a medium, more than medium heat. Just let that soak in. Be ready to put it in our casserole dish and in the oven. So now we're going to take our mixture of sausage and onion and celery and apple and breadcrumbs with our seasonings of salt, pepper, sage, and chicken broth. And we're going to go ahead.
Smells wonderful. You should tip it and let them take a look at how pretty this is. This is very, very delicious.
Because the apple is going to give it that just a little extra flavor that perhaps you haven't experienced before. All right, we'll go ahead and pour that in here. Now, one of the strongest flavors we have here is sage, and if your family loves sage, you can add another half teaspoon or so. I kind of keep it on the lower side because I enjoy the flavor of the apples. So I'm gonna.
Would you say that sage can be interchanged with another seasoning, like maybe poultry seasoning? Or?
I was just thinking about that. If perhaps somebody doesn't care for as much sage, you can always use poultry season. I found poultry seasoning just a little less strong than the sage is. And there you go. Put that in the oven and let it cook for about 20 to 30 minutes. Because then what we're going to look here for is a kind of a golden brown to come upon that. The apples will turn a little bit brown, and you know you're all set.
All right, so now we have our finished product. Our chicken/turkey has completed its roasting period. And I just want to bring to your attention, if you see here, that some level of doneness. As you can see, our turkey leg is easily can pull away from the rest of the bird, and that lets you know that this is done. So even if I hadn't checked the thermometer on this, we would know that this is complete. And also, Eric's wonderful dressing is complete as well. So we're going to just cut a little piece off and plate it up and see how good this will taste. So I'll let Eric do the honors.
Okay. Take a little bit of see.
Some of our viewers might be breast eaters, so you might want to cut a little piece for them too.
Certainly.
Okay.
Maybe a little more here of this. Our breadcrumbs now are been saturated in the juice and the broth. And we'll slice a piece of breast meat here. And it's Thanksgiving Day.
Mmm. That looks great.
I'll put a bite.
Yeah, let's try that.
All right.
You gotta give me some with the dressing too. So I'm gonna dig in here. And here.
With this. And take a bite. There you go, dear.
Okay. Mmm. It's very good. The sausage and the breadcrumbs. Mmm.
And I'm going to make sure I have
Very
some with the apple.
I love that crunch on the breadcrumbs. It's really good.
So if you haven't ever tried a sausage apple dressing, this would be a good year to try.
Mm-hmm. It goes wonderful with the aromatics and the turkey. Be a good combination. Well, happy holidays. We hope you enjoy this, and give us some feedback. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you.